die again. Well, this was a quick run. Yeah. Well, hello there, Just Will here again, and today we're just going to do a quick recap to start off with of what happened in the last stream, because you can see already there's a bit of chaos going on, to say the least. So, the main aim, shall we say, for the stream was to do the farming stuff. Shall we say it got a little bit done, but not a lot. It was, shall we say, great plans and all that, but yeah, it didn't get very far. I got as far as extending the room out, putting in the hydroponic stations, and that's about it. I do actually need to bung a bit more ice in here before I forget, so let's just quickly bung that in there, because I just noticed as I loaded up the ice has just run out, so I can be chugging away. I've insulated all the pipe inside so it doesn't chill the space off. Excuse me? Thank you. I did not want that. Anyway. So, I've got some batteries in at last, just to start capturing some of the extra power off, and they're fully charged up. This can be basically removed now. I think it's one storm away from being destroyed. But basically, this space is just going to be the greenhouse as such. So I want to eventually sort out CO2 filtration and get things like that going, so it would just fill the space up, because at the moment I'm just emptying my tank into here just so it's got something. We put in a tomato plant just to actually get something going, so we can actually see what is well, just to see what happens basically, because I've never actually done any of the new update stuff, and it was interesting to say the least. So it was a lot of experimentation and learning going on, but basically then I've got this new chip into the plant analyzer, which I didn't realise until the end of the stream. Someone pointed out there is actually a chip you can read the information off, because I was sitting there struggling away trying to work out what the tomato plant was doing. So you can actually read on it now all the sort of stats, things like that. So you can see at the moment growth efficiency 8%, temperature efficiency. So you've got all these lovely stats in here. So it does make it a little bit more easier. Light stress, things like that, because I was way over stressing the plant. I probably won't bother to turn the light on because the sun's now about to pop into it, so it will get at least some light from that. But yeah, so you've got all these lovely stats. We did put in a little genetic station over here. So this thing here, we can go over, grab a DNA sample of the tomato plant, plonk it into this machine, put the light back on, turn that on. It does a cool little animation. And then once it's done, you can then read over all the stats and get an idea of what's going on and such. I presume this is all just base, and this will be different to its next generation from that tomato plant. As we gave it quite a hard blast of light, it's going to be more light tolerant. So it's going to probably want more sunshine, things like that, or more artificial light, because I just left this light on, not really paying attention, to be honest. So, anyway. So that's kind of a catch of what happened here. The furnace has been moved over now. We're now on to the advanced one. That was kind of the bulk of the... Oh no. I'd been worried then. I thought my helmet was open when that alarm went off. So with the old furnace removed, I put in a new advanced one in the corner here. At the moment the pipes are just... An input one is there, it's not connected to anything else at the moment, and the output is just simply exhausting through the greenhouse just to be warming it up. So now it's up to temperature. I'm probably going to start taking it out and moving it over here. So we kind of give this name, I think we called it Bertha. I think that's what I decided to call it. So yeah, so there's a lot of jokes at the end just to keep them both happy. I think I might have slightly ballsed up though, because I think I realised what I've done wrong. I've got CO2, I believe, building up in my tank because I didn't get a pure oxygen mix, because I just compressed air from the greenhouse because I hadn't had time to sort out when I was running out of oxygen at the beginning of the recording. So that's something I'll deal with. And that kind of goes on to what my plans are for today. So the reason this is all looking a bit weird up here is simply I moved all the frames that were here down. I'm going to put ceilings across here so they're not just floating. And then in here it's going to be an atmospheric filtering system. You can see I've already put in a couple of insulated tanks. Ultimately, I'm going to have 6 of them, the large ones, so there'll be all the gases are captured, because we do kind of want the other nitrous oxides as well now, because they're good for basically in the combustion system of the furnace and things like that. So it's something I do want to capture off. Water will be dealt with possibly out here, possibly not. Not 100%, not 100% sure yet. So anyway, that's the plan for this episode, just to get the atmospheric systems going. I don't know quite yet what the layout's going to be. What I did before was daisy chain from one machine to another, feeding into them. But from what I saw, the filters didn't seem to get used unless it was the gas they were filtering off. So I might just do one big tank, empty into that. They're all just common together and they just feed through it. It saves then the first filter in the atmospheric filter in the chain over pressurizing the pipe and blowing it up, because that's something I kept seeing over and over again on the previous Mars run. So anyway, I've built at the end of the stream the atmospheric system, so I can start laying them out a little bit to get an idea. I'm not sure where I'm going to bring the gas in, because somewhere I'm going to have the ice crushers as well. So it's probably going to be a case of bringing the waste gas along the back wall here, because I won't be able to put it along there because of the cable. So it is probably going to be a case of just bringing it along the back wall and then just having them all come into here. So, and ideally I need a space for the tank as well, so that might go just in the corner here. It's only going to need to be a little one, nothing too crazy, just to store stuff. I also need to have access to, let's get the right thing, there we go, filtration system, to the canister as well. So if I put it maybe, let's go here. So we'll have the tank. Actually no, I might put the tank here. Yeah, so we'll put the big storage tank from the waste pipe to be filtered here. And then that's all the filtered stuff going out there. So it should be able to squeeze it in a little insulated tank here. Filter stuff out to each tank. They'll have to sort of squidge around these ones because there's going to be some tanks here. So there's going to have to be some pipe work going around the side here, which is not a problem. Yeah, it's alright. I'll oh, that's the other thing I just realised. Now I've got this programmable chip in here, so that'd be interesting to see. I might be able to make them switch on and off depending on if there's gas detected in a sensor by simply just using this. So yeah, so there might be a little bit of program going on in this episode as well, so I'll see how it goes. Anyway, I'm going to start laying this out roughly, yeah, and then I'll catch you on the other side. Well, I've got a basic layout worked out now. So the 6 tanks are in, not hooked up or anything, but they are just in at the moment. I've still got to get some paints going and colour code a lot of the pipe work this time, because most of the time I never get around to doing that, but I'm going to do it from the start this time. I'm going to put the ice crushers, I think, either here somewhere, because I want to be able to walk around and get to all the canisters. So it's either from that side or from this side. I don't think we're going to do this side because I think this is where pipework is going to be crisscrossing and doing shenanigans, to say the least. The idea then with the chips per filter, I should be able to put in a sensor along here somewhere, and it'll just detect if there's any of that gas present, and it'll then turn it on. Otherwise, just turn it off. And it should work quite well. So they don't all then turn on at the same time, so there'll be a bit more intelligence to the system. Because normally what I do is just a dumb pressure system. If there's pressure, turn the whole lot on. But having them individually activate and deactivate, it's going to be quite cool. Well, I just reviewed the last bit I just recorded. It's the next day from that because my schedule was going completely haywire. And I noticed there was a gap in the cabling. I don't know how long this has been like this. It's obviously been a little while. I vaguely remember running out of cabling, so I just never put it in there. Oh well. Now it's finally hooked up to the last 3 wind turbines. So anyway, I've put a little bit of the piping down. I've got the ice crusher in, and I've put in a battery here. A large battery. I think that should be enough just to power these as and when they need to, because they're only going to be hopefully just pulsing on and off. So, but yes, already with the colour coding, starting to get a theme going. Just got to do the rest of them now. Easy, right? So I finally got all the pipework in. It took a lot more time than I thought it would do. But I've colour coded everything. All the tanks are fully fitted. All the filters are in. Everything's ready to go. Yeah, so in theory, I've also actually already put some waste into this pipe. Let me grab my tablet and just see what actually is in here, because again, there's been another day since I've did this, so let me see. Yep, so there is some CO2 and odds and odds in there, but looks like most of it was pollutant. So, in theory, this should now. Yep, that's working beautifully. Taking it all out, quick as anything. So that's very, very quick, actually. Okay, so the next stage is to start doing the system. I had the idea of where each one of these will have a chip in them, because each of these filters have got the ratio numbers. So the ratio numbers are all here. So anything is above 0 for this type. So say this is the pollutant. So if I say pollutant, let's see, where is it? Oh, there it is. Pollutant ratio input 0 at the moment, so that wouldn't turn on. So again, the oxygen could be on this one. So ratio oxygen input, see it's above 0, so I'd say right, turn it on, and then eventually when it drops down to 0, we have just turn off. Yeah. So the idea would then be each one of these will have a, hopefully will work with a chip inside here, and I can program simply the sensor. And that's it. I think that's all I want as input. I don't need an output because the device itself will be an output. I believe it's I can't remember exactly. There's a reference anyway that you can pull the actual devices coming through. So, right, my next job is to basically start putting this together. So I've already printed off a laptop, which is in here, and I think I've got a chip kicking around here somewhere. Yep, there it is. Swap their hands. There we go. So yeah, so I've got the chip. So I'm going to start doing some programming. So I'll start putting together some basic code, and we'll go from there. There's one thing I just realised that I need to do is to actually load up the old creative world. So this is basically my little programming corner. So everything in here is just chucked in, and basically just to try and work out things. I think this was all to do with actually I have no clue what this is for. There was some reason I programmed this in, but I think it's something to do with the temperature dump system I put in. Yeah, I think that's from the Mars scenario. So anyway, so what I've done is bung in a filtration system with a CO2 canister that's constantly running just to burn that through a little bit, because I've got some ideas how to do that. And it's just trying to get the hang of this, because a lot of the online resources, especially the wikis, are now completely been abandoned by looks things. They haven't been updated in months, so there's nothing about the new filtration systems or anything. So kind of have to deal with it all in game, basically. So what I'm going to try and do now is work out how to get some of this information out. So in the editor, let's just clear this all out, start again. So we've got things like the, let's see, right, here we go. So this is whereabouts I found some, well, some more little hints. So B is the base unit, which would be the filter itself. So we would do DB, which would be the device itself, and D0 and D1. So I did have a little idea that I've got where I'm thinking of doing indicators with them. So using the LED system, let's see if I can find them up. Here we go. So there is LEDs in the game. Now, I'm thinking about using these to indicate the states of the filters and if they're operating. So they'll change colour, things like that. So and that should be easy to access through the extra slot, because we're only going to need one for the actual analyzer of the pipe currently. So that's all we need to know, basically. And then the other one will literally be an indicator light now that will change state depending on what the state of the filters are. That's why I'm kind of trying to burn one out here, just to try and get the percentage down as quick as possible. So I'm going to leave that chugging away. So now I've got some rough ideas what I'm doing. Right, so I've got a proof of concept going. One thing I did kind of not pick up on is the fact that the inputs, there is the options to actually just read in what ratio gas is available there, so I don't need an actual pipe analyzer. So I just read it straight from the device, which means I've still got a spare slot. I've put in an LED. At the moment the code is very, very basic. All it's doing is setting up the alias for the LED in the filter, and then basically reading in the nitrogen input ratio at the moment. and it literally says if it's 0, just go to stop and turn everything off. It's a bit loopy at the moment, there's no yields at the moment, but it's just basic code together. And it simply just turns the filter on, turns the LED on. I haven't got any colour setting or anything like going on, so that's the next thing I want to have a look at, and reading in the filter status, things like that. So at the moment anyway, I just need to adjust the pipe work a little bit just to bring the nitrogen back in, because I just did a test run to make sure it all worked, and it did, which is a miracle. Okay, so that brings in nitrogen again. So if I now turn this on, he says, there we go. To wait for it to sort of wake itself up. Don't know why that stayed on. That should have turned off. So I'm guessing it's switching too quickly, not giving that a chance to turn the LED off. So right. So if I now disconnect that and do that, give it some more gas, some more pipe work to work the way through. So now that is now filling up. We should see the ratio of nitrogen input dropping, and in here it's filling up with nitrogen and the pipe is slowly emptying of all nitrogen. So at the moment it's not really running efficient because these other ones aren't being filtered out. This is just some rough gas I just piped in, but the other system in theory will have the CO2 and O2 filters run at the same time because it would detect them here. So this would run actually a lot more efficient than this is at the moment, because it's just wasting a lot as it tries to get the tiny little percentages out. And there we go. Just at the time I was then bringing up the tablet, it is now switched off as the nitrogen input is now hit 0. And it won't turn back on. So that's perfect. So next thing I want to do is try to extend the logic a little bit and see if I can actually get the colours, because I believe, I don't know if it's the setting, I think it might be the setting. There we go. So basically, in theory, I think if I just set these, mind you saying that, setting 6 is white, and that's what the LED is currently set to. And it says 0 on there, so unless it's just not set. So, okay, I'll have a little play around with that and see what I can find out. Well, it would have helped if I actually used an LED instead of an LED slide. So anyway, I don't know why. I'm guessing that's for progress bar or something like that. So anyway, the option wasn't there for colour, but it is there now. That should be set to 2, but it's actually saying 0, which I'm a bit confused by. But I'm guessing that's not something that can be read off, or I don't know. Doesn't really matter. Anyway, so I do now have at least a LED I can change the colour of. So I think the next thing is to have a look at, see if I can read out the filters state. Right, here on filter, so you've got logic slots. And I'm not 100% sure how I read through this, I'll have to do a bit more researching. But basically it's things like damage, I'm guessing if it's occupied, things like that. So I'm guessing it changes from a 0 to 1? Or 1 to 0, depending on how that's done, probably as a percentage. But it's interesting that there's actually 3 slots now. I'm going to guesstimate that the either 0 or the 2 is the actual chip that's in there at the moment. Here we go, yep, it's right up here. I just scrolled up. So 0 and 1 is what I care about. I don't care about the damage of the chip, but so it's just 0 and 1 I want to iterate through and basically just see if it's damaged. So let me try and work that one out next. I've made some good progress. I've been able to work out how to get the life of the filter out. It turns out it's actually the quantity setting of the filter for some reason. Not damage or anything like that, so a bit peculiar to say the least, but okay. So that's just reading out the reading of that nitrogen filter, which is 76%. So turn it on. Oh, just got to kick it again. There we go. So that's now going to filter through the nitrogen that's in the pipe at the moment. If I add this other one in, that'll go above 100 and that goes green. So I've got it so if it's below 100%, it's going to go yellow just to warn me that a filter is damaged and needs replacing. And I've set the threshold at 10% so it never goes too far down. So now I've got the filter going. I just want to wait until it's done on nitrogen, because there's a major problem I've just found. So it's now just turned off. And that's okay, so there's a little bit of nitrogen in the pipe again though, so it should have in theory turned back on, and this is the issue I just ran into. So even if we connect all the gas back up, it doesn't turn back on. I think I figured it out. It it's not documented at all how you're meant to do this. Mode is the answer, basically. It doesn't say anything about it. You click on it, it just says it does something different to each device, which is useful as a chocolate teapot, to be honest. So yeah, it's just I sort of literally googling around internet, things like that, just trying to get vague ideas about it. So yeah, it really is a case of there needs to be more documentation that sort of explains some of these fundamental bits and bobs and such. So basically now, don't turn it on and off. Basically, it's mode that turns them on and off when you use an IC chip. At least that's what it is for the atmospherics filter. But again, this could be different in another device. They seem to be really unique settings or different ways of doing things in different machines, and it needs to be, I don't know how uniform it is, to be honest. It might be more uniform than I realised, but it's coming out weird. Like quantity is the percentage of the health. I would have thought damage would have been that. Yeah, it really is a little bit confusing, to be honest, and it's understanding the weird little things, and because there isn't a lot of information out there, sadly it does confuse things. Well, now it's working. Again, it's one of these weird things. There's no actual update to the UI, so it's still saying there's error at that line. I'm presuming that's just cached in the system, but so all I did was literally switch it off and on, and it started working again. So I've set it up again to get it to fail. Okay, now it's done. So as soon as I reconnected it, it then has this error. And all I can think of is actually when I connect this pipe up, it's generating an error on the pipe network. So, theory, I don't need to worry about it. And I guess there is one way I could test this, and I'll just go grab something. Okay, it's finished filtering. Open the valve. It works. So it was just literally me taking that piece of pipe and it just error in the system because it obviously the pipe network, as it rebuilds it, disappears for a second, and that's when the script obviously grabbed it by accident. So right, I think it's all there. So if I'll chuck this on the floor. Where's that old CO2? Oop. Grab the CO2 filter, pop it in, light turns green, perfect, take it out, light turns yellow, perfect, absolutely perfect. Right, I think that's everything I wanted to do then. So I've now got a system that will literally turn them on and off. Now, I don't know how much power they're actually drawing when they're on idle, so I'll just test that now. I'll shut this down and I'll grab the network analyzer. Okay, so the filter has just now stopped. So if I now open up that valve again, the network is currently drawing 60 watts. Yep, and it is actually using a lot less power. Okay, and if I turn the filter off and turn the LED off, so on standby it's just pulling 10 watts. That's actually okay. So we're going to have 6 of them, so 60 watts. Yeah, I think that'll do actually. So what I'll do now, I think, is get this into our world. So I put together the walls and everything and put some lights up just to give an indication of what I'm planning to do. There was a snowstorm when I loaded up the save and it lasted for so long. It was like half the day gone. So I've got some signs and I put the LEDs in. I have noticed I've put the wrong way round, so I can't get a cable around here, but I will just flip them round because I can run the cable down the back here along this door edge and there. Yeah, so basically each LED will have a little sign next to it, and we'll be able to visually see what's going on, what the filter state is, if it's on, things like that. I'm half tempted to maybe bring a bit of pipework over and have like a gauge here so I can just see the pressure, because that might be quite interesting. And the pipe is already there, so it wouldn't take much to just put a upwards stretch bit here, possibly, or just bring it around the other way around. So then we can have just a bit of gauge on our meter here just to see what's going on with it. It's annoying that this is going to look a bit daft like that. I might bring it forward a bit. I'll wait and see. I'm not quite sure yet because it's going to make this possibly a bit cramped coming in here. Possibly. Yeah, I might bring that forward as well then, just to make it so it doesn't look so silly with it just a massive white box in the middle that's opening. I put a little interior door here so we can just come through, and that way then we can get access to the filters and things like that, because there's a big enough gap here. Once the flooring's in, it'll be a bit easier to navigate. I might try and keep this area a bit more clearer. I think this is probably the worst the pipe it's going to get. saying that, I'll probably get a lot worse, but I can always send it around that way and things like that. So, okay, what I'll do then, I'm going to get I flip these LEDs around. There we go. I've got it all hooked in. Now, the reason why some of them are green, some is white, because there was a little bit of residue in the pipework from obviously where I dumped it out from the furnace. So when the LEDs actually do turn off, they stay green still. So these ones actually haven't even been triggered yet. So as a result, that is basically there's no pollutants or volatiles in there, because I think I had the pollutants on just to test the pipework out at that point. So all the systems are now on. I've left the covers open actually, so I should probably go around and just quickly close them all up. There we go, they're all covered up. So I've got the basics there now. I guess we can just turn this on and just chuck something in and see what happens. In theory, it should just work quite happily. So there it goes. There you go. Nitrogen and oxygen has been detected in the system. The lights turn on green. And then basically, if the filters are damaged below 50%, we'll get the orange indicator, and then red means failure of that filter. It will hiccup and do this weird sort of song and dance as it gets to the last little bits of residue, which is fine. It's not really a massive nuisance because we're not really going to be hanging around looking at this, shall we say, day in, day out. So, but other than that, it's yeah, you can see it's hopping between the two as its percentages go up and down. But that's fine. Let's pop a bit of the old volatiles in there. You can see the O2 and nitrogen is still hopping around for some reason. Oh, a little bit of O2 left, and that's it. There we go. That is beautiful. So now I don't have to keep an eye on them. I can just sit here and just dump ice to my heart's content, knowing that the whole system is fully, well, automated really, in a way, or a lot more smarter. I didn't actually go around to put a gauge on there. I should really do that, because if I keep dumping stuff in there, I mean, realistically, actually looking at these, how quickly they're going through, I can't put ice in quicker than the system at the moment. This will also be a good indicator to know that well, actually, no, there'll never be any waste in the pipe, because if these are always on all the time, there'll never be an instance where there might be hot gas in there, so I'm never going to accidentally explode anything. So maybe there'll be less boom? Question mark? I mean, in theory, this should be foolproof. So, but yeah, this seems to be working quite happily. So I think I'm going to call it there, as the sun is now setting. So the next episode stream, I'm not quite sure yet, because at the moment this has been an episode that I started recording on, I think it was Thursday after the last stream, and I've only now got it finished on, what is it today, Tuesday. This episode wasn't too complicated. It's just there's been lots of work stuff kicking off and lots of stuff happening, sort of real life stuff, and long story short, decided for some reason I was going to get back into fish tanks and stuff again. So yeah, that's a whole thing. Might post some bits on my Discord. I'll see how it goes. Anyway, yeah, so that's kind of been a bit of a time sink. So I think the next thing, I sort of scribbled some bits at the end of the last live stream, but basically the plan is to sort out the farm, because at the moment we are now dangerously running low on food. We're down to 34% on one can of soup, and the tomato plant is nearly there, so that should be enough to get us at least a few tins going, but I really want to get that going. There's also things like the ore miner systems, because the deep core system now will produce rough soil all the time, so that's another thing I want to do, and that's going to possibly go out the back there towards the end. So that's the plan anyway. At the moment my O2 supply is getting dangerously low, so instead of me just wasting it, gassing away, I think what we'll do is call it there, and then next time we'll sort out oxygen, farm, and all that. So anyway, I'll post anything, if it is a live stream. At this rate of my week's going, probably will be a live stream on this Saturday coming up. So hopefully, all being well, we'll aim for that. Anyway, hopefully I'll catch you all then. Bye for now.